Welcome to Bliss Live. I'm Cassie Begley, the founder and visionary of Bliss Dance Festival. It's a weekend of celebration. And what are we celebrating, you might ask? Well, the empowerment of women's sexuality, of course. We are highlighting women choreographers while empowering women to celebrate their sex, sexuality, and sexual desires. Tonight, we have our very first interviews of 2021. We are talking with featured choreographer and erotic chair dance workshop facilitator, Itzel Lara, and Unleashing the Mistress Inside workshop facilitator, Danny L., aka Nudista. Let's welcome Itzel and Nudista. Hi.
everyone. Thank
Yay.
Hello.
I'm so happy to have you guys here. Thank you so much for being here on our Bliss Live interviews. You two look amazing.
Thank you. Likewise.
Thank you so much.
You know, I did my hair, a little lash and little earrings. Yeah. I'm loving, Nudista, I'm loving your eye makeup and your lipstick.
Thank you so much.
Uh-huh.
Matchy for today.
Yes. And everyone out there, you might see me copy her look next week. Let's see what happens if I can handle a little red on my eyes. Let's see what happens. Yes. And Itzel, your top, I don't know what's going on, but you have this lacy. Oh my gosh. Hello. Gorgeous. Beautiful. I have to give a little shout out to that because I mean, come on. But we are going to get to the nitty gritty of all of this because we are here to find out more about the two of you and your workshops and your process. Itzel is, she does the erotic chair dance workshop, and she is also a featured choreographer. 2 for 1. Awesome. Yay. So I have some questions here for the both of you, and I'm gonna start with you.
Yeah, go ahead.
I know, because I know you personally. I know that you are big on family, and I'm wondering how your upbringing contributed to you being so free with your sexual expression.
Yeah, so that's actually a very good question. For me personally, I think that my experience of being really close to my family has been an obstacle when it comes to expressing my sexuality a lot more freely. I think that has to do with the fact that because the family is so involved and because it's such a big family and because they watch me grow up, it's very like, oh no, like she's still a baby. And so that kind of really like threw me off a little bit because I'm like, dang, like I feel like I couldn't grow up. I felt like I couldn't express myself the way I wanted to because everyone was watching, and I'm like, dang, like if my uncle sees this or my aunt sees this, you know. So it was a big struggle. And aside from that, I am Latinx, so I am in the Latinx community. And with that comes a big stereotype of, of us, getting pregnant very young and getting married. And so all of these things kind of really suppressed my ability to express myself in that way, because I felt that if I did, I was living up to the stereotype, which is something that, was very difficult for me. But I think that now that, I'm 20 years old, they know, they're aware. And so with that, it's actually been a really interesting process of like the transition of them being like, no, to being like, okay, like we accept that this is who you are, like this is how you are, and like everyone lives for it now. So it's been hard, definitely like the beginning transition of it, but now I feel very supported, very safe amongst them. So it's been great, yeah.
Yay. And I've seen on your Instagram, because of course I follow you, and why
Yes.
wouldn't I? And wasn't there a video of you and your mom doing a fun, sexy chair dance?
Yes.
Yes.
So, yeah, so because I dance and because my mom herself was a dancer when she was younger, she's like, oh my God, great. Like, I'm glad that my daughter dances. Now we can dance together. And so she knows that I do choreographies and like, that's what I do. So she's like, oh, you have to do a choreography for me now. Like, because you can do this, now you owe me a choreography. So
That's
I was like,
awesome.
okay, I'll make the choreography, but we have to film it. And she wasn't excited about that part, but once we got it done, like she loved it. So it was a good experience. Yeah.
You two look so great together. And you know what?
Thank you.
Nudista is actually a dancer too. Not just BDSM, but she also does dance, right, Nudista?
Wow.
Yeah, I do. I'm actually a fire dancer for in my free time. So I tend to use flow, and from actually dancing, I incorporate it in my rope work. So it's 2 for 1. So being able to actually dance and express myself, but at the same time being able to bring dance aspects into BDSM is actually a beautiful thing.
I love that. Yay. I love the combination of dance and sexuality and being able to really express ourselves as women, as dancers, and as sexual beings, because we are all of those three, right?
Mhm.
We are so much.
Yes.
We are so much more, right? All right, I'm going to ask another question, Itzel. There's so many questions. Why did you lean to this particular style of dance, and what about it empowers you?
Yeah, so that's a pretty complex question because, again, growing up and being very shy in that aspect, I am naturally very feminine, or I like to consider myself very feminine. Like, the way that I move or walk or talk is very just, So that's something that I've always had, but I, again, didn't really know how to express it. And as I was growing up and like developing and all of that, I felt like there was a lot of comments about my body, or people would touch me inappropriately when I didn't want it to happen, and all of these things. And I feel like I felt like my body wasn't mine to an extent. And so through this movement and this dance and like, embracing who I am, really like how I feel all the time, I feel like I lean towards this dance because it's just, I feel like I'm taking back that power. Like, this is me. And like, you can look from afar, but this is mine. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so I feel like that in itself is what empowers me when I do this style of dance. And that's why I lean towards it as well.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. There's a little bit of feedback. Is anyone hearing that? Okay. Oh, it's gone. Okay.
I heard it too, but it's not. Yeah.
Okay. Well, this is live. We can't really stop, so we're just going to keep going.
Just keep it
going. And speaking of your chair dance, I was wondering if you would show us something that, like, your go-to, or something that makes you feel empowered, makes you feel sexy.
100%.
Give us something.
All right. So let me scooch this back to here. We're going to face the other side of my house.
All right.
And then let's bring this down.
Uh-oh.
Yes. There's my chair waiting for me.
Oh, yes. The prop is waiting for the dancer.
Get a little bit higher up. Yes, okay. This might not be the best angle, but it'll work for this. So, my favorite movement that I always do, because it's my absolute favorite, is I sit a little bit on the end of the seat, and I do a kick forward and out, and then bring it back like this. And then I like to do a little body roll into an opening here. And just this position in general is just very sensual. And my favorite movement.
And everybody's attention. You have everyone's attention right now. Okay, I love that. I love that so much, and it looks really natural for you, and
Thank you.
it looks easy. Is that easy?
I mean, to an extent, because I've been doing it for a while and I just love to do it
Mhm.
on my free time in general all the time, it
Mhm.
comes a little bit more naturally. But I feel like the key to it is just doing it for yourself. It's not so much like
Right.
what are they thinking. It's more so like I'm feeling good in this head roll. I'm feeling good when I
Right.
sit here, you know. And it's just
Yeah.
like feeling yourself, loving yourself, and I feel
Mhm.
like that's what makes it more natural for me. Yeah.
What I also like, you know, because I'm a dance teacher too, I like the way you explained it. And so this is a plug. This whole thing is a plug, by the way, everyone out there. Um, So Itzel's class is for all levels. So it's
Mhm.
for beginners, and she can make it harder for those that are advanced students who've been dancing for a long time. But the main thing is it's about the sexual expression, right?
Right.
So I
100%.
felt like the way you taught it would be great for beginners. Sit on
Mhm.
the edge of the chair, kick a leg up, kick the other one,
Mhm.
roll through. I think that was great. So I think
Thank
that'll
you. Thank
call to
you.
everyone. Yay!
Yes, come take a workshop.
Yes. I'll be there. I'll be there,
Okay,
of
that's
course.
exciting. I'm glad.
That'll be so fun because, I get to take from you. Yes, this is gonna be
Yes,
so
I love
great.
that.
Um, and I have another question for you.
Mhm.
Actually, I'm going to save it till the end. I'm going
Okay.
to actually switch to Nudista. Nudista?
Yeah.
Hey, hey.
Hello.
Hello. Okay, so unleashing the mistress inside. That's like a ooh. That already, the title of that workshop is so ooh, right? And I was wondering if you can tell us. Well, it's a BDSM themed workshop, and I was wondering if you can tell us a little bit about BDSM. Like, what does it stand for? What is it? Because there's a lot of people who have no idea what that is.
Okay, so a lot of people think that BDSM is there's a misconception wherein it's just like 50 Shades of Grey because in the mainstream that's what is known. But a lot of people don't really research about what it is. So BDSM is actually an acronym for a lot of words. So it's going to be a mouthful, but it stands for bondage and discipline. So BD. And then there's DS, which is discipline and dominance and submission. And then for the S and M, it's sadism and masochism. So it's a lot of terms, but when you pile them together in the spectrum of BDSM, it's actually a spectrum of things that you can do or activities you can do under pain or pleasure. So when I'm going to expand about BDSM, it's bondage, right? So bondage means that you restrict someone's movement. So in some way you're bounded by something. So it can be rope, it can be cuffs, but sometimes even mental bondage is a thing in BDSM. So there's also the aspect of discipline. So it's you actually giving rules to another person for them to follow. So dominance is when someone asserts themselves or their power over someone who wishes to submit, and submission is someone who gives that power to someone to whom they wish to submit to. And sadism and masochism is actually term for sadism is more on the person who actually loves giving pain or they find pleasure in giving pain. And then masochism is actually the term for someone who is into receiving that kind of pain.
Great. Oh my gosh, thank you so much for all that. And and with the BDSM, with the pain part of it, a lot of times, I've talked about it, and I wrote a thesis about BDSM actually, and I like to talk about it in a way that's not actually saying pain. I like to say it's just sensation. So there's like different levels of sensation because just like out in the non BDSM world, but just out there in any world, like we have different tolerances of sensation, of pain. And so if I pinch myself some people will be like, oh my God, how painful. Ow, ow, ow. And I'm like, I don't feel anything, right? It's like not a big deal to me because I'm a dancer, right? We can handle a lot. But yeah, so I like to talk about like how it is just sensation play. And I'm wondering if that's something that you resonate with, Nudista. I mean, you're the expert. I'm the host.
When it comes to actual sensation, it's also based on the intention of the giver. So when you give something, when you have an intention to give someone a sensation, it just means that you're wanting them to go into a certain headspace. So of course, if I want them to feel pleasure in a way wherein they're into soft touches, and that brings them into a headspace of, okay, it makes me let go in that moment, then I would create sensations through maybe touch, my hands, or maybe something really soft, so that they can get into that, feel good state that I want to get them in. Or maybe that's their thing, because not a lot of people are into the sensation of pain. So sometimes people just want the really good pleasure based sensations that most people don't really get in normal settings. The beauty about BDSM is that you get to explore all of your fantasies in a space wherein you're free to do so. You're free to do so because you're with people who actually have the same kinks that you have. So if I'm into wax play and then there's this other person who is into wax also, then we can create a space wherein, hey, I know how to do that. I know how to give you these sensations that you're looking for. Maybe we can talk and negotiate on what you expect, or where can I place this wax on you? What kind of other things do you wish to experience during the session? Maybe it's not just wax play. Maybe they're also into like bondage, so being held down. So it's also compiling different sensations on top of the other. So it can be just pleasure based, but sometimes they also want the sensation of pain. So we can create the scene where we can balance all of those things, so that we can have that holistic experience of you feeling all of these things in a safe environment where I can monitor you, and you can actually tell me whether or not this is something you would want to explore more in the future, or maybe for today that's my limit. I don't want to do it anymore because I just wanted to try it out. But the beauty of it also is that because there is open communication between me and the person, it's easier to understand where they're coming from. Oh, you love this sensation? Maybe I can give you more of it. Maybe I can explore other things with you, just as long as you're open. So it's a beautiful thing to explore, especially because it's founded on trust and mutual consent. Yeah.
Yeah. Is it just me, or does anyone else get giggly? Because when you said, oh, where can I place the wax on you? I instantly just started, I just want to giggle. I'm like, that tickles. And then, ouch, what? Like all these, like, emotions come out. Like, I imagine it. I'm like, ooh. Anyways, is it just me? Okay, it's fine. It's just me. Okay, so I have more questions. How did you become interested in BDSM and then come to be a sex educator within this realm?
Actually, when I was 18, that's when my friend, like a college friend, went up to me and said, "Hey, I'm into tying people. Do you want to try?" And I was like, "Yeah, why not?" Because I'm a very much an enthusiastic person, and I'm an experimentalist. So I love exploring so many things. Like, I'm that kind of person who's like, I'm gonna try it once and see if it's good for me or not. So when he opened up that conversation, I guess it corrupted me in some way. Not really corrupt, but it turned me into this person who's like, okay, it opened my mind to many things.
Yeah.
So from that 18-year-old girl exploring, it took some time, before I went back to it again, because I had relationships, I was living with my family. So of course it's so tricky to go around BDSM or learning about it when you're still with family. So when I had my own space and was able to explore it, I was able to find people who taught me that BDSM is more than just giving pain, or more than just bondage, or more than just an activity with sex. So BDSM became a holistic lifestyle in some way, because I'm with people who actually explore it in their everyday lives. It's not something just for the bedroom, it's actually a lifestyle that they do. So they have,
Ooh,
you know,
yeah.
they have boyfriends who are their submissives, and then they get to explore so many other dynamics with other people. And it made me realize how, wow, nobody's talking about this, especially here in the Philippines,
Mhm.
wherein sex and sexuality is not talked about, or when it's talked about, it's usually, behind closed doors, and not a lot of people are open about it. And I sense the need to have that safe space wherein, hey, I get to explore all of these things, the beauty and magic of BDSM, and being able to explore my sexuality, sensuality, and other things. Why can't I? Why can't other people do the same? Or maybe they don't really have the avenue to find the person who also loves and enjoys what they're doing, and to have a safe space for it. So here in the Philippines, I'm a woman. I mean, you know how women are treated in some way in patriarchal societies, wherein, you shouldn't talk about sex because you're a woman. It's not, we're in a Catholic country as well. So, religion is also one of the top things that society has here. Like, it really stops you from exploring yourself in many ways. And I said, why not? Why can't I explore myself? Like, why can't I stop the stigma, or create an education based on this? Because when people started exploring, there's always a lot of misconceptions about it. And because it's taboo, it's not talked about. And
Right.
when it's not talked about, you tend to keep things to yourself. But when I started talking about it, the more I educate people about it, to take away the misconceptions that they have, they start seeing it in a different light. Like, I'm not going to be there
Mhm.
and say, hey, this is how what BDSM is, and then I slap a person. No, that's not it. So
Oh
it's more of
God.
like, it's more of, hey, I'm gonna sit you down, let you understand what sensations feel in BDSM, why people do it, what kind of emotions come out, and if you want other people to, or if you want my partners to talk to you about how they feel when they submit to me, then they get to have a look or a feel of, okay, that's what it is. Like, when people say, it's funny how word of mouth goes. When you
Mm,
hear someone who I've played with talk about how good they felt, how wonderful it was to be in rope, how
mhm,
they were able to let go, the more people are like, okay, maybe it's not that bad. Maybe this person that she has played with, or the people she has played with, have had great experiences because she was educating them, or I was educating them. I was there for them. I was talking to them about the risks and how I can make them feel comfortable in the experience. So it's a whole thing. And I guess for me, there's also that giver part. As a woman, you're naturally giving. And I said, if no one taught me these things, I would be the one to give it back to other people, because they deserve to feel all of these things, or to explore this in a safe way. And I guess that's my gift to people as well. Like, I want to give this as a gift to people who don't have anyone to talk to about their sexuality or their fantasies, and be able to guide them in the process of exploring BDSM.
I really appreciate that. I'm sure everyone here really appreciates that you are offering a safe place to explore fantasies and to express themselves. And similarly, I feel like Itzel, like in your chair dance workshop, it's also exploring fantasy, and it's also expressing, one's sexuality. It's all combined in there. So I feel like this exploring the fantasy is really important for women, especially because we don't get a chance to talk about it. And, you know,
Right.
through dance, you know, as Itzel's one of our choreographers, you know, she got to embody that. She got to embody that. That's another way of communicating. Is that right, Itzel?
Yeah, 100%. Dance is my language.
Yeah,
100%.
yeah. Dance was my only language for a while, and now I'm here talking live and interviewing people. And so there's apparently there are other avenues of communication for me that's opening up. And it's really so freeing to be able to, well, dance about my own sexuality, and now to, well, and then write about it, and then now to speak about it and share it with the world. So that it's not such a taboo topic, right? And BDSM, especially BDSM for all people, but yes, for women especially, is just such a taboo thing. There's such a bias of, you know, I ran into this for a while that, you know, as a sexually submissive person, woman, not just a person, but a woman, it was looked down upon by other women. I'm like, why you gotta judge? Why you gotta judge a person? You know, we all have different desires. Yeah. Okay, I have more. Let's see. Oh, Nudista, I don't know if you've answered this. You might have already, but one question is, why do you think people engage in BDSM activity?
People engage in it because it's, again, an exploration of, you know, your fantasies. So being able to explore it with someone you love or someone you respect or someone who respects you back is something you really, really want to get into, because hey, this person is willing to explore something that I find is taboo, and that's such a trusting thing. It's a vulnerable act in your part or in both your parts, because who in their right mind would love to give pain to another person, and who in their right mind would love to receive that kind of pain? So it's actually like, okay, in society that's very, very like, okay, who's they're crazy. But in that context, or when you're able to do BDSM, you're actually be able to let go of inhibitions, let go of what society tells you is bad or good or whatever, and just be in the moment. And a lot of times, like in some of my sessions, I see my partners cry. Like I see them cry, like, where is this coming from? And sometimes they say, oh, you know, it feels very cathartic to me. It feels like I have this tension in my body or something I'm going through. And when I'm in a session, I'm able to confront it, or sometimes I just shut off completely and just enjoy what's happening. So I guess a lot of people get into it because there's this catharsis moment wherein you just feel everything. It's just magnified in so many ways. And I don't know if this is just me, but whenever I see my subs, or when I see my partners like be in this headspace wherein they're just eyes glazed over and they're just feeling, wow, oh my god, this feels so good, that's when I know that I'm giving them the best pleasure that I can give them at that moment, wherein, hey, this person is so vulnerable to me right now and is willing to actually show me this vulnerability, which they don't show to a lot of people. That's a gift. That's an amazing thing. And it just lets me know how much trust they have in me to be able to bring that side out of them. And I guess a lot of people also want to be seen for who they are without judgment. Like when you're in that moment, like, I'm not judging you. I'm actually loving you as this person. Like, I'm loving whatever you're feeling. I'm loving who you are. And it doesn't end in the session. It goes on after. Like, I respect you before, during, and after the session. Like, I don't see you as anyone else. I see you as your whole self. And that's something wonderful to see when you practice BDSM with really good people that you care and trust for.
Nudista, I love your energy, and I can't wait to be in your workshop and unleash my inner mistress.
Yes.
I don't know what's going to
Thank
happen.
you.
Okay, so I have one more question, and this is a question for both of you. I want to ask, what advice would you give to someone who wants to explore their sexual energy further, but is still shy?
Yeah, I mean, can I start?
Yeah, go for it.
Go.
Yes.
Yeah, so for me, I feel like that's something that is very personal to me. And first, I want to just say, like, everyone's experience is going to be different. Everyone has a unique experience, and it might also take different amounts of time. Like, I can't say, oh, if you do this in a week, you'll feel better. You know what I mean? Everyone's different. So this is what worked for me, and this might work for you as well, to whoever's watching. But I feel like changing the narrative a little bit. I feel like we're always taught to just be like, okay, like, I desire you, right? And then that person is supposed to let me know that I am desirable. And so in that way, we're always constantly thinking like, okay, does this person like this? Or does this person, you know, do I look good when I do this or this and that? And so that in itself like makes you overthink. And that's what causes you to be shy, or at least that was like for me. But I started changing the narrative to, you know, I am deserving of pleasure and I am desirable. And that immediately just changes, because at that point, no matter what the heck you do, as long as you feel good, is good. And that confidence is what other people notice, and that confidence is what is attractive at the end of the day. So if you change it in that way, like when it comes to expressing yourself, for example, doing a cheer dance and just like doing that, it's just, you're doing that for yourself. You're feeling good for you, and that shows, and that makes you more attractive, and that in itself is what like is more empowering when it comes to, you know, your sexual you know, fantasies and all of that. It's easier to express it because you know that you are deserving of that pleasure, and you know that you are desirable, so it's easier to ask for these things. So yes, that would be my advice to you. Just change the narrative a little bit and work with it, play with it, look at yourself in the mirror, enjoy yourself, and it'll come.
You know what? You're so right. It's all because I know that for me, when I am prepping and I am putting on my makeup, brushing my hair, whatever, it's for me. It's really, I mean, when it's for somebody else, then I mean, it can be for my boyfriend too. But if it's for me, ultimately for me, then I feel good, and it's this, and there's this transformation that's happening while I'm doing that. I am prepping my clothes, my hair, my makeup, whatever, or I cannot, right? But as long as I feel good, then I feel good. So I think that's some great advice. People might not think that I'm shy, but I actually am. You don't think I am because I'm on here, but I actually now I'm gonna hide. Bye. Nudista, do you have any advice for those who want to explore their sexuality?
When it comes to advice, there's a lot of shadow work that comes into it, wherein when you're trying to explore many things, many thoughts will come up. And a lot of people just throw it, you know, at the back of their head. It's like, no, I'm going to do all of these things. But it always comes out. So when those emotions do come up, you just have to confront it. Because of course, also as a person who does BDSM, or I'm also a nude artist. So when I take my clothes off, of course there is some kind of insecurity that comes with it. Like, I'm not as beautiful as this other person. So of course there are so many things in your head that stops you from enjoying yourself. So when that happens, I just sit there and say, okay, where is this coming from? Is this your thoughts, or is it society's pressure on me that I keep constantly feeding myself? So I agree with Itzel, wherein, you know, you change your narrative. So from being being someone who looks into yourself and say, you know, I'm not like this, I'm not, you know, I don't have a model body, I don't have clear skin. Maybe you can just say to yourself, well, nobody's perfect. Who's approval am I looking for? Is it
Right.
society or is it my own approval? And then from there, you start to understand that maybe I'm unique as a person. Like maybe I'm not everyone's cup of tea, but that's okay. Because the people who stay or the people who love me will stay because they see how beautiful I am as a person. And it's not just, physical, it's also how your personality goes out or shines through. So, and also when you start exploring sexuality as as a woman who loves her sex and sex toys, you start to understand that maybe pleasure is my birthright as well. In society, we have lots of stigma around looking for pleasure. But what is pleasure? So sometimes it's the pleasure of the senses and not just sex. So pleasure in, you know, rubbing the senses of, rubbing yourself with lotion at night. It's you loving yourself. That's a sensual experience in itself. And when you love yourself in that way, indulging your senses, wherein you breathe in beautiful aromas, you see wonderful pieces of art, you see your body as a piece of art, you experience things or learn to look for things that give you joy, then you start accepting yourself as a sexual being as well in the process, because hey, my body is a pleasurable organ. I mean, and my skin is, it's an organ, and I have an expanse of it. And then when you start exploring it piece by piece, you say, okay, maybe if I do these things again and again, I start enjoying receiving pleasure at my own accord. And then you can start exploring yourself deeper by, when you start exploring sex with yourself. And not a lot of people understand that when you explore your own self during sex, your own masturbation session is your own alone time. And then from there is no pressure to please anyone except to just explore yourself. And there is no judgment there because it's just yourself. Like there is no pressure to please another person. There is no pressure to finish faster when people are. That's how the pressure usually, right? Like you have to finish fast, but what if my body just wants to relax? Like, what if my body takes a longer time than most people, and that's okay. And then when you have that conversation with yourself, and then you bring someone in, it's easier for you to actually tell them this is what I like. So it's easier to have conversations because I already know what I like, and I'm just having you or just having these people around you who want to explore your sexuality or sensuality, then it makes them understand you better, and you can create a scene or create an experience that's holistic because hey, I know how much time I need to warm up. Maybe I can play with myself first, and then I can have you explore it with me in the process. So it can be so many things, and it's just you working out your kinks in some way before before you start, exploring it with other people. And the more you explore yourself, the more you love yourself, the more people will feel loved in your presence.
Exactly. Completely agree.
So, yes. So, we're talking about self love. We're talking about solo sexploration. It's a form of education for ourselves, right? Yes, I love it. Are there any last words, either of you, that you would like to say to our Bliss friends and family?
Come to the workshop.
Yes, come to the
That's true.
workshops. Yes. And
for
it's
me,
all like,
I think for me, I think my message should be come and explore yourself in a way, in a space wherein women are open to explore ourselves and with each other. So I guess I'm just excited to teach what I know to people who are willing to be taught.
Amen.
Nudista, what should we like? What should we wear to your workshop? How should
You
we
can wear
dress?
anything. I mean, what makes you powerful? Some people love to be
Okay.
in leather. Some people love being naked because that makes them powerful. So there is no restrictions. I'm all for it, just as long as you're comfortable being in the workshop, being in a space with me, willing to explore. And even if you don't want to dress up and just see what I'm doing, that's good.
Mhm.
That's good enough for me.
That's great because I feel a lot of times I feel most sexy in my sweats or my
Yeah.
pajamas or dance clothes. I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel my most comfortable and my most myself and most powerful. So good to know. So I don't have to come. I don't need to come in leather, and I won't be coming in leather. But I'd be so interested to see if anyone did come in leather because that also is very intriguing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Itzel, what would we wear to your erotic chair dance workshop?
Anything that is stretchy, so something that you can, stretch out a little bit because we will be warming up a little bit so that we don't, pull any muscles or anything like that. So again, it can be something cute, sexy. It could be just a bralette and some booty shorts, whatever you feel comfortable in. Again, sweats. I feel comfortable in sweats. I'll probably be wearing a sports bra and sweats. It's whatever you feel beautiful in and something that is breathable and movable in. So nothing that's super tight that you can't really move in because you want something like that. And if you're comfortable with going onto the floor, because there is a section that's on the floor, I would recommend knee pads just to protect your knees. But of course, there's also the chance that you just might not want to go to the floor at all, and that's totally fine. I have a different choreography section that you can do without the floor. So it is whatever you guys are comfortable with. So yeah, just feel beautiful, feel, flexible, and you'll be fine. Yeah.
Safety is sexy.
Yes,
knee pads
100%.
are sexy.
They are.
Yes.
They are.
And yes, and these workshops and all of our workshops, our whole festival is for all genders, as long as you're 18 plus, adults only. Okay. All right, kids, you can't come. I hope you're not watching this. No kids. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for hanging out with us tonight. We are so happy to share all of our intimate details with our Bliss friends and family. Don't forget to register for Bliss Dance Festival. It is open now on Eventbrite. The action is happening on August 6th and 7th with Itzel and Nudista. Thank you. Good night and sweet dreams.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye. Blowing kisses.